Hey everybody, I'm Maximum Panic, and this video is sponsored by Tourbox. Again, now I could have just done another Tourbox video, but no, they wanted me to go plus ultra this time. So they sent me the Tourbox Elite. What is the Tourbox Elite, you might ask? Well, in my opinion, it's one of the best new tools made to help content creators boost the speed and quality of their work. In short, this little baby can fit so many keyboard shortcuts you'd think you were using a PlayStation controller. But you can use it to draw, animate, edit your videos, make 3D models, and so many other cool things. Oh! And it's Bluetooth. That's right. It's wireless. So if you want to edit your YouTube videos in bed or on the couch while you're watching a movie and forego messing with flimsy cables, then you can do that thing. Seriously, what do you think I was doing while I was making this video? Anyways, it's a nifty product and I've been enjoying it thoroughly the last couple of weeks. By the way, the Tourbox Elite hasn't even been released to the public yet, so if you want to snatch one up for yourself, then I'd highly suggest heading over to Kickstarter.com and checking out their campaign where you can make a pledge yourself. But the campaign ends in about 5 days, so if you want one now, now's your chance. And you know, if you got a friend or a family member who's a digital artist, then it might just make for one of the coolest presents ever. Click the link in the description below to head over to tourboxtech.com and check it out. And now, on with the video. Okay, so for this video, I really had to think about what kinds of art that I wanted to do that I could both enjoy and that would be a nice test run for the Tourbox Elite. And after thinking about it, I came to two different conclusions. One of them was gonna be for those big movie poster speed paints that I like to do for different like OCs and alternate universes, but that's more for a special kind of video, so I'm gonna save that for later. My next thought was doing the 20 art style challenge, but considering the time crunch and everything and the deadlines, I didn't really have time to do 20 art styles, and then I had another idea. Why don't I just do 10 art styles, and we'll do Webtoon comics, because as far as I've seen, I haven't seen that anywhere on the internet yet. So that's what I'm doing. So for this video, I'm doing a Webtoon art style challenge with 10 of my favorite Webtoons. Or, you know, at least 10 of the hundreds and hundreds of Webtoons that I've loved over the years. So, obviously, this whole thing would be kind of confusing without some frame of reference, so just to start this whole thing off, I drew myself in my own style. Just as a nice compare and contrast to the other 10 styles that I'm about to do that simultaneously were a lot of fun, kind of lazy for time's sake, and in some cases almost wrecked my left hand. My art style in particular. Now mind you, I'm one of those kids who grew up watching a lot of anime because that was kind of my comfort zone, and I was just really inspired by the style over the years. I loved the big expressive eyes, the way they drew the mouths, the different body types, which, I mean, mind you, I love drawing like cartoony, expressive, like almost anime-esque styles, but I don't want that to be my frame of reference forever. I don't want people to just call my art style anime all the time. So I've kind of like tweaked and bent it a little bit over the years, but my art style is very distinctive because number one, I love drawing in vibrant colors because a little bit of vibrancy always cheers people up. From what I've seen. Another thing about my art is I really love to do dynamic poses, as in I'd rather avoid doing anything more static whenever I have the chance. But yeah, I just like to do, you know, vibrant colors, dynamic poses, big, like, expressive facial features. I love doing that stuff. Compared to what I'm about to draw, it actually does stand out pretty well. So, another thing about my art style is that it kind of lacks consistency. And by that, I mean I've done so many art styles over the years trying to find my comfort zone that I never really forget how to do one or the other. Or I never, primarily with my YouTube thumbnails too, because it depends on the game that I'm playing. But I like to do different art styles for different games, you know? Like there was this game last year, Roki, that I did, which was more of like a paper cutout looking style, where it was lineless and the features were very soft, or at least it just had soft colors. It looked like that kind of style, like almost like a kid's cartoon, and I loved doing that one. And then there's like other game series, such as The Last of Us, Death Stranding, or sometimes Life is Strange, where I want to take a more realistic approach, and in those cases, I really do push myself to try and step outside of my comfort zone when it comes to just drawing styles and stuff. So I like to experiment, but I also don't want to deviate too far away from just how I draw things in general. Like, I want it to be recognizable that, regardless of body proportions, I want people to still be able to tell that, like, oh, that's Maximum Panic's art. You know what I mean? So just certain things kind of translate through each of the different styles that I do. But yeah, I'm really happy with my art style, and the vibrancy, the big eyes and everything, like that's my trademark kind of right there. Either way, here is my final result. Now that is one happy Max if I ever seen one. Anyways, let's get on to the rest of the styles, shall we? So Webtoon style numero uno is from this one comic that I've recently fallen in love with called Boyfriends. So if you don't know what it's about, I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I also don't want to lead you guys in blind. Boyfriends is about a group of boys who are friends, if you know what I mean. I'm just kidding. Go read it for yourself because I'm not going to tell you too much, but it's borderline slice of life stuff, but with room for LGBTQ expression in there. Something I do really like about this art style, though, is just how soft it is. It's something about the different pastel colors that they use. There's never any solid black lines in this artwork. I mean, maybe there were when it was on Webtoon canvas, but it's obviously gone through a bit of a makeover. But I just love how, like, appealing the colors are. It's almost like literal eye candy. It actually is the color of candy in most cases. But they do like these soft, almost chalk textured lines, which I think is a really smart approach. It kind of reminds me of those like chalk drawings on the street that you'd see during some festivals. The thing about the characters in these comics is that all their faces are cute and a little smushed. They don't need a lot of detail in the face to kind of express how they're feeling or just the differences between different characters. Like, all you have to do for certain characters is either squash the eyes or stretch them out or make the pupils like little lines as opposed to big irises like I drew for my character here. You kind of get what I'm going for, right? Like, it's one of those things where you don't need gradients or fancy highlights to express the form of the characters, who, by the way, are all adorable and half the time look like they're wearing either like blankets or marshmallows. As weird as that is to say, I do love the way that they make the sleeves all puffy in this thing. It looks soft. The sleeves look like long squishy marshmallows and I love that. Anyways, I just thought this was really cute. I love boyfriends. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Here's my final result. Now the question is, why don't I have a boyfriend or girlfriend yet? I'm just kidding. My social life sucks. The next Webtoon art style is actually for one of my all-time favorites as of this year, a comic called Unholy Blood, which I'm sure is a little disconcerting considering the title, but it's not as gory as it sounds. Or maybe it is, it's been a while since I've read it. But anyways, Unholy Blood is about a woman named Hyeon Park who is secretly a pure-blooded vampire in a world slowly being overrun by vampires. And there's this villain organization called the Angels of Death who are like a group of vampires each with their own supernatural ability, which is some OP shit if you ask me. Basically, one day, one of them screws up and they kill somebody very important to her, and she decides that with the help of this one detective guy who is actively looking to kill all vampires, this smoking hot guy named Yonsei for that matter, she goes on a mission to kill all vampires, starting with the Angels of Death, because if they die, then for some reason all other vampires either die or fall in line. So that's a fun little story of her going on this mission to kill them all, and at the same time gaining her own supernatural abilities. Anyways, the art style of this webtoon in particular is just, it's one of those art styles that I do not want to look away from. It is fucking gorgeous! Now, I don't know if they have like a team of people who work on this whole thing, but if this is all done by a singular person, then hot damn, they are a fucking beast. Unholy Blood is one of those comics that puts details into every single panel that they draw. Like, each one is its own individual work of art, and it's just so beautiful. Something I really admire about this comic is that the facial expressions are so vivid and so expressive, for lack of a better term. Like, they simultaneously draw the prettiest faces, the most punchable faces, and at the same time, some of the most fucking terrifying I've ever seen in Webtoons promotional art. Like, at first when this thing came out last year, I had my reservations about reading it, because the promo art they used, it looked like Hyeon Park was ready to fucking kill somebody, or like a different character altogether. Like, with the shrunken pupils, the mouth was like fully opened, you got to see all of her fangs and pointy teeth. I was a little bit scared, which just goes to show how well they've mastered the art of facial expressions. And another thing that I like though is the shading style, because while it does kind of resemble something you might see in like a shonen anime or I don't know, something out of Mappa, they put so much detail with the lines and just minimal shading into a lot of these frames that like you don't need a lot of like color values to kind of express what they're going for here. A lot of times there's like a lot of wrinkles in the clothes or big folds in the jackets, or you know, just a little bit of shading here and there just to kind of like convey where the shadow is, the angle of the lighting. And they do this thing with the hair where sometimes in some panels where it's dark they have like an underglow, like a flashlight shining up under the backside of their head. It's so fucking pretty. I can't take my eyes off it. I don't know what to say. It just, I want to marry this woman. We'll put it at that. Oh, yeah, but it's also one of those things where the art style works with virtually every single color palette. Like, it doesn't matter if it's muted or like an evening sunset or pastelishly vibrant or like black and blue, glow in the dark, almost neon. It all works so well, and that's why this is one of my favorite webtoons, hands down. Anyways, I figured I'd take a crack at trying to draw myself as, I guess, a pure-blooded vampire. I mean, I do have the white hair and the blue eyes already, so, here's my final result. Not gonna lie, I do not look half bad for a vampire, but there is no way in hell that I'd survive more than 2 minutes in this webtoon, I feel like. The next art style is from a webtoon called I'm the Grim Reaper. So this whole thing is about a woman named Scarlet who suddenly wakes up to find herself one day having died and been sent to hell. And before she can be judged, Satan himself basically pulls her out of line and says, "Hi, you're one of my favorite sinners, therefore I would like to make you a Grim Reaper. What do you say?" And, you know, at first she's kind of skeptical, but then realizes she really doesn't have a choice unless she wants to spend all of eternity in the ninth circle of hell, which is called Oblivion, which is just absolute nothingness. Apparently she was a pretty pretty bad person in life, but she doesn't remember who she was at all. And her new task is to kill one sinner a day, and bring them back to hell to fill her quota. And that's pretty run-of-the-mill and everything, but then emotions get involved when she meets a detective guy named Chase. And the thing about this webtoon is that all the sinners here are marked with a red X on their chest that they can't see, but Scarlet can. So she's gotta kill the ones who do have that red X. And this guy Chase that she meets actually does have a red X himself. So it's a little conflicting there, but she starts out by using him to like help her find other sinners because he's a detective. Apparently he knows where they all are and stuff. So it's a lovely little story. Very gritty in nature, but I do love it. But I'm the Grim Reaper's art style is one of those things where it looks like they pulled screenshots out of an already existing anime. I love that style. The lines are thin and crisp and clean, and they're so nice to look at. The thing about this webtoon is that the colors are either very dark, very bright, or very, very saturated. Most of the art style and the color palettes are like black and white for the backgrounds, and then for the sky, sometimes it is a stark red, like the kind that actually hurts your eyes when you look at it. It's kind of to convey the tune of the webtoon as a whole, just how dark it is, how screwed up the world is in this place. It's a very nice way to tell a story using just the color palettes alone, and I really appreciate that. But some stuff about the characters in this, while it does look very anime-esque, is that they don't need like a lot of details or lines to kind of draw on the details, you know? They have these like wide, flat-colored irises, and sometimes like the eyes are like half closed almost all the time. They have very little nose details, and sometimes the mouths are very scrunched up or just very small. But something about the way they draw the hair in this webtoon I really love, because most of the time it's all fluffy or it's out there. It has a lot of volume and detail. I think the lack of lines in some of the parts of this art style actually do help express like a lot of volume and detail as far as just general colors go, because there are some panels where it's just all flat colors and it still works with the art style in mind. So I wanted to give it a whack, see what I'd be like as a Reaper, and here is my final result. Now, I'm not sure what the weapon or the demon of choice would be, but according to the Make Your Own Reaper test that I did a while back, apparently I would have a wolf and what is it, chain? Wolves and chains, there we go. Yeah, I can work with that. The next style is from Suitor Armor. Yes, it said Suitor Armor, not Suit of Armor, and you'll see why in a sec. But imagine, if you will, being in medieval times where humans and fairies are a thing and they've been at war for centuries. There is this woman named Lucia who is secretly a fairy. And she's the handmaiden to the human princess of their kingdom, who's looking to get married soon. So they go to this tournament thing, where the court mage has made a living suit of armor to basically act as an invincible warrior. And this suit of armor, he wins this tournament thing, and he's given a rose to present to somebody as like a victory prize, and he gives it to Lucia. So it's kind of like one of those human monsters, slow burn romance stories. What I really admire about this art style, though, is that there's this nice hand-sketched quality about it that I just love so much. It's one of those things where you don't need shading to, again, convey the form or anything. You can get all you need to out of it just by like the detail lines and like how big the eyes are and the height of the eyebrows. Something about the way they draw the lips in this I also just really love. Not to mention the swoosh. They use so many like smooth or curvy lines in this that it's just like your eye doesn't want to stop moving when you're looking at some of the character designs in this. But yeah, there's lots of curly strokes and smooth lines in this, and I really admire that art style. Not to mention the eyebrow game in this webtoon is on point, and I don't know why, but I love that so much. I really wanted to take a crack at this one, so here's my final results. Now the question is, where can I find me a big handsome suit of armor? Okay, here we go. The next webtoon art style is from a new one that I've fallen in love with called Surviving Romance. There's this girl named Sharon, I think that's her name. She's like this 30-year-old woman in South Korea who wants to read her favorite like romance novel and basically live out as the protagonist in this story. And, you know, there's this boy she has a crush on named Jiha or something, and she wants to, like, confess her feelings to him at the end of the day in the music room, because apparently that's a big thing in these kinds of novels. The thing is, when she gets to the end of that day and she meets him, she discovers that, unfortunately, a zombie apocalypse has broken out and infected everybody in their school, killed this guy, and when she gets killed by the zombies, she wakes up on the morning of the same day to find out that she's now stuck in a time loop. And what she's trying to do is find different ways to make sure that she can save the guy that she likes. Except the thing is, once she goes through the loop about 273 times, she basically loses faith, realizes there's no stopping it, and accepts her fate, wants to die and everything, until one of the extras in the book that she never paid any attention to suddenly saves her. And then when the unknown extra dies, and then she dies again, she wakes up during the next loop and decides that now her mission is not to save Jiha, but to survive with the unknown extra character. Now, the reason I say they're unknown is because all the extra characters, and I do mean all of them in this story, appear merely as black silhouettes. And again, that's because she focused all of her attention on Jiha and never any of the other characters. So in order to find the unknown extra, who is apparently in her class, she has to gain everybody's trust, and when they open up to her, they will show her what they look like. So that's kind of an interesting little plot where now she's trying to survive with her classmates and gain their trust and basically form a new kind of kinship that she didn't think was possible before. But something I love about this art style is just, it's so pretty, and I know I keep saying that, but it's true. This is like one of those more traditional shoujo manga art styles where the eyes are really big and colorful, and they have like the thin eyebrows, the sharp jawlines, the long necks, a lot of folds in the clothes, a lot of shading there. There's a lot of cell shading in this, but they do a unique thing with the shading where if a character has pink hair, then they'll use blue to like shade the undersides of it, or if somebody has blonde hair, they shade with green. If somebody has green, they might shade with red or violet. It's a really cool kind of color application, and I couldn't not try to draw it for myself. It's one of those art styles that you can tell that there's like a lot of gritty details without the need for a lot of details themselves, you know? But it's also such a beautiful art style that you kind of forget it's a horror story most of the time, so. Anyways, I always kind of wondered what I'd look like in a manga, so here I am. Here's the result. Now the question is, how many times do you think I could repeat the same day before I effectively lost my mind? I'd say like 2. Then again, if it's a zombie apocalypse we're talking about, probably like 3,000. The next art style is from Lore Olympus, which is one of the most iconic webtoons of all time at this point. If you don't know what Lore Olympus is, but have some idea because, you know, there's Olympus in it, the story is basically a modern retelling of the story of Hades and Persephone. There's a lot more to the story than just that, though. I mean, it's kind of evolved to be more than that over time, but I don't want to spoil a whole lot for you because 1, I don't know how to paraphrase it, 2, there's so many details it's almost impossible to keep up at this point, and 3, it's a pretty damn good story, so just go read it for yourself. This webtoon is just so distinguished from so many others on the platform because it has such a unique art style to it. It looks more like a kind of art style where first they paint in the colors and stuff and then they draw over it, you know? A lot of the characters in this story are very monochromatic in design. Their hair and skin are basically the same color, but they all have like the same vivid brushstrokes for the eyes. It looks like it was drawn partially with a paintbrush, sometimes with like a piece of chalk or a pencil. You know, just that very nice, somewhat hand-drawn style to it. It's one of those things where like the eyes are wide, the eyebrows are really thick and defined, and the details are mostly just thick black strokes. The clothing detail is very minimalist in itself, like it doesn't need a lot of lines to convey the form. In this art style, it's more about the form than the detail of anything. And I really admired that about this thing, but honestly, it's just really pretty and it's so visually breathtaking that I obviously had to take a crack at it. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm really happy with the results here, so here you go. I don't know whether it'd be a god, goddess, myth, or whatever the hell there is in this story, but I'm just happy to draw me in that style, you know? And that I'd finally have an excuse to wear a toga. So. The next webtoon art style is actually from a newer one that just came out recently called Morgana Dawe. Now, I don't know a lot of the story because only 3 episodes are out, but it's basically some kind of like rivalry between the vampire family and the witch family, and 2 people in those families, Morgana, a witch, and Oz, a vampire. Basically, they meet, and based on the art I've seen over the years, they fall in love, become a couple, you know, something to that effect. It's a nice little story and all, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but I love the art style here. The artist has been drawing stuff of these characters for the last 3 years at least. It's so interesting to see their evolution over time and just how their designs have kind of refined themselves at this point. This is one of those art styles that has like a lot of soft colors and soft facial expressions. Like there is something just so huggable about these characters, partially because of like how rounded out the faces are as well as the eyes. The eye detail is very just simple. It's like a flat colored iris and then like a monochrome pupil in the middle. Just very minimal but round and soft, and I love that. The way that Miuli draws the clothes in this thing, like the big comfy sweaters and all the fabric folds and the way that they're like highlighted, it's such a cozy art style and I love that. I'm always a fan of the people who like try to draw like the big folds in the clothing, or at least give it some volume with like the little swooshes and the loop-de-loops in the folds. I love that art style so much, and I've been trying to do that for God knows how long to no avail. Of course, I absolutely had to try this one out. I kind of want to see what it looked like with that kind of sweater and a witch hat, you know, for the first time since Witchtober last year. But yeah, I'm really happy that I get to see myself as a sketched out little witch character with the red ribbon and the sweater, and of course I wanted to add in the leather jacket just for a little bit of extra flair, because you know me, I mean, go big or go home, right? I'm looking forward to reading the rest of this comic whenever it comes out, and here is my final results. Don't I look ready to burn a house to the ground given the wrong spell, wrong place, wrong time? So at this point, I kind of realized that I was on a time crunch when I did these last 3, and I also realized that I haven't done anything more simple in terms of style. So, the next one is from another iconic webtoon called My Giant Nerd Boyfriends. Now, mind you, this is like a 3 times a week kind of comic, but it's just a nice little slice of life comic about a girl and her giant nerd boyfriends, or if we're thinking about it the other way around, a boy and his tiny weird girlfriend. But they are just wonderful people, and they make for a wonderful webtoon, and they have like one of those really unique, almost like, I guess, what is it, like paintbrush art styles, where they have very broad brush strokes, but not a whole lot of detail at all. Like sometimes the art is just so small and so teensy that it's really, they only have room for like, what is it, like the head, the hair, the big old round eyes, a little bit of the nose detail, which is very, very different from a lot of other webtoons. It's just they have like the basic shapes in there, but that's about it, and I love that style. Not to mention the color application, also very nice and simple. Love that one too, so I figured I'd take a crack at it. There's not a whole lot to say about this one, but here's my result. Now the question is, where can I get me a giant nerd boyfriend or girlfriend? I mean, that is the dream, right? The next art style is also very simple in terms of definition. This one is from a webtoon called Sappy the One-Eyed Cat. Again, it was like one of those once or twice a week kind of webcomics that was more so slice of life than anything else. And it was about a girl and her one-eyed cat named Sappy, as well as about, I don't know, 3 other cats. It was more so just like funny, silly, stupid, slice of life kind of fun from the perspective of her cats. And I thought that was very nice. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to draw myself as a cat, but I promised that I'd save that for like a group picture at some point. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, with the art style they kind of use here, it kind of looks like the characters are made out of cookie dough. And I don't know why, I love that one so much, because there is very, very little definition in the actual faces. I mean, they only need like 2 or 3 lines for like, what is it, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Again, you don't need that much to just make the style here, and I tried to go for the same thing. Not to mention, I just kind of wanted to try drawing me in sandals with my normal outfits, so, yeah, it worked out pretty well. And here's my result. Actually, I do kind of wonder what it looked like as a cat. Or a dog. Knowing me, I'd probably wind up being something like Puppy Cat. The last webtoon style that I'm going to be trying out this video is from something called Homesick. Now, I'm not sure why it's called Homesick considering the circumstances, but this is like another zombie apocalypse related thing. Homesick is about this girl named, Rain, I think, or it was revealed that recently anyways. Rain is this girl who suddenly wakes up on like a school rooftop with a serious bout of amnesia. She can't remember who she is, where she's from, or what's even happening right now. And this dude named Samuel finds her and basically explains to her that they are 3 months into an apocalypse. These weird demon things rose up. If you look them in the eyes, they will kill you. So it's one thing to try and survive an apocalypse, just, you know, normally, but to have to do it with amnesia, I mean, number 1, what? And number 2, how could you even trust anybody in that regard? It'd be a very hard thing to do anyway, so now she kind of has to like regain her footing and try to figure out what's happening where, whether or not she has any family waiting for her or friends or anything. There's a lot of stuff that she has to do in this webcomic, as well as just figure out who the hell she can trust, because as far as I've seen at this point, pretty much anybody can be one of these weird like zombie demon things, even if they look totally normal, which is kind of unsettling. While the comic style is in fact very oversaturated with like pink and violet colors, it is very much a gory / gritty comic. Like there are actual like moments of physical scarring and like intestines being ripped out, actual blood splatters, people being stabbed, shot, killed, whatever. Again, very dark material, but the art style definitely doesn't convey that at first. It's very unique compared to what I've seen. Like a lot of these characters are drawn with such immense detail in like the hands and their faces. Like they have like the little eye wrinkles underneath their bottom eyelashes, or the eyebrows can be like very small or very thick. So more often than not, they're either very thick rectangles or like itty bitty little triangles. Just the lines when they're drawn like the next to the torsos, it's all like very contoured, very much to a point. There's a lot of sharp edges in some of the stuff in this artwork, noses for one, as well as the eyes, and just the length and the sharpness of the eyelashes definitely is something very recognizable about this webtoon, as well as the way they draw the hair. Sometimes it's very blocky or very like sectioned off, I guess I could say. Not to mention the way they do the highlights in the hair, it's kind of like diamonds almost. But again, it is a very oversaturated kind of color scheme to this comic. So I shaded with pink, and of course I made my eyes like a very dark indigo blue, almost violet. And then like the underside of my hair, which is normally like a lavender, is like ultraviolet in this case. But yeah, I'm more like privy to the zombie apocalypse related webtoons, so I was really happy to do this one. And here is my final result. Not gonna lie, if a zombie apocalypse actually does happen, just hand me a baseball bat or something with some barbed wire wrapped around it, and we are good to go. And I think with that, we're officially done. Wow. I have never seen so many me's in one place before. Anyways, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much again to Tourbox for sending me the Tourbox Elite so I could draw the stuff out with it. It was a lot of fun getting to learn how to use this new device, or getting to use something that was Bluetooth for a change. That was actually a new one. Love that. If you guys want me to try out like another 10 Webtoon art styles, or even just any art styles in general, then I'd definitely be up for doing something like that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!